The movie begins with Angela, a college student who meets her friends at the campus book club. The group has a tradition of spending an entire week reading the same book before gathering to discuss it. After finishing the latest horror novel about a clown, they meet to talk about different phobias, especially the fear of clowns, and the story of John Wayne Gacy, the infamous man who dressed as a clown while committing horrific crimes. The rest of the group discusses the terrible acts Gacy committed. The discussion quickly turns into an argument, and Angela tries to calm one of her friends down. However, he believes she's taking Sebastian's side, so he storms off and leaves. On the way home, Sebastian talks to Angela about the novel she's writing and offers to help her with a new chapter. She immediately realizes his true intentions and politely turns him down, explaining that Nando will be home as soon as he finishes work. They say goodbye, and Angela returns home, where she begins working on the next chapters of her story. She decides to email a sample of her manuscript to her literature professor, but at the last moment she changes her mind and deletes the message. As she wonders what to do next, she remembers the conversation from the book club and decides to search online to see whether she suffers from a fear-related phobia. However, what she finds terrifies her far more than she expected, causing her to shut down the computer before finishing her search. The following day, Angela attends her horror literature class taught by Professor Cruzado, where he and his students discuss horror films and television shows. After class, Angela starts to leave, but Professor Cruzado calls her over and tells her he received her email and would like to speak with her privately. Although she's hesitant, she accepts his invitation and follows him to his office. Inside, the professor tells her how much he enjoyed her writing. Angela begins explaining her story in greater detail, prompting him to ask more questions about it. He then returns to the subject of the email and tells her he'd like to spend more time with her, making Angela increasingly uncomfortable. Suddenly, he moves toward her in an inappropriate way. She rushes to the door, only to discover it's locked, leaving her frozen with fear. Professor Cruzado continues advancing toward her and shoves her against the wall. Refusing to let him assault her, Angela strikes him below the belt. Furious, he unlocks the door and threatens that if she tells anyone what happened, her career as a writer will be over. Even though she never tells anyone about the incident, her friends realize something is wrong. They decide to get revenge by setting up an elaborate prank involving people dressed as clowns to trap the professor. Once the plan is ready, Angela sends Professor Cruzado another email asking for a second chance and arranges another meeting with him. Meanwhile, her friends buy the clown costumes and prepare everything. When the day arrives, the group heads to the college right on schedule. While discussing the final details, Virginia walks out of the library and sees them together. Brian realizes she now knows about the plan and decides the only way to keep her quiet is to include her, making Virginia part of the scheme. The group enters the professor's office. At first, Cruzado assumes it's just an angry student upset about a grade, but he panics when he sees someone wearing a clown mask and carrying a hammer, smashing everything in sight. Terrified, he runs through the hallways as more and more clowns surround him from every direction, eventually forcing him toward the place where Angela is waiting. As the professor approaches, Angela puts on her clown mask and waits for him. Suddenly, another clown appears and slams a hammer into the professor's face, leaving him badly dazed. He stumbles forward, crashes into Angela, loses his balance, falls onto a statue, and is killed instantly. Without fully understanding what just happened, the rest of the group immediately blames Angela for the professor's death. She insists it was an accident and says she simply slipped, but no one believes her explanation, and everyone assumes she's responsible. Brian comes up with a solution after remembering that Professor Cruzado had divorced his wife. He suggests leaving the body where it is so everyone will believe the professor took his own life, ensuring that no one ever discovers the truth. Angela argues that it's the wrong thing to do and insists they should tell the police everything and turn themselves in. However, none of her friends support her, not even Nando. Outnumbered, she reluctantly agrees to go along with their plan. Afterward, they burn their clown masks and swear never to speak about what happened again. The next day, the entire campus is talking about the professor's death. Overwhelmed with guilt, Angela distances herself from her friends. Although she doesn't want to return to college, she forces herself to attend her literature class. One of the professors notices her distress and tries to comfort her, but she tells him she just wants to be left alone, leaving him with no choice but to return to his seat. A short time later, everyone receives a notification on their phones announcing a new upload in the book club. Moments later, the club administrator sends the group a PDF titled Chapter 1. To their horror, it contains a detailed account of their entire plan and explains exactly how Professor Cruzado died, leaving every member of the group terrified. The group gathers once again at the book club, and Angela reads the new chapter aloud. As the story unfolds, they realize the clown knows an alarming amount about them and plans to kill every member of the group, one victim in each chapter. The most terrifying part is that none of them has any idea who the clown really is. Brian points out that no one else was inside the building that night, which means the killer has to be one of them. The accusation immediately turns the friends against each other. Brian accuses Virginia and grabs her arm, exposing a series of strange drawings she had been sketching on a piece of paper. Furious, she snatches the paper back and storms out, bringing the meeting to an abrupt end without anyone paying attention to the book anymore. The next day, while Angela is getting ready inside the locker room, she notices a mysterious red light behind her. When she turns around, she sees someone dressed as a clown and screams in terror. However, the moment everyone else rushes over, the clown completely disappears, making Angela wonder if she's simply hallucinating. After getting dressed and leaving, Sebastian approaches her and reveals that the second chapter has already been uploaded under the title, Eliminating the Child. In the chapter, Virginia becomes convinced that the clown is coming after her, so she decides to flee to her mother's house. While waiting for the bus, the lights suddenly begin flickering before going out completely. The clown appears out of nowhere, forcing her to run for her life and leave her bag behind. Terrified, she escapes into an abandoned building, but the clown chases her at full speed, catches up with her, and knocks her to the ground. She lands on a large nail that pierces her stomach, leaving her unable to defend herself. Standing over her, the clown drives a hammer straight through her skull, killing her instantly. After reading the chapter, Angela and Sebastian head to the abandoned building to investigate, but they can't find a single trace of blood, making them suspect the entire story is fake. Moments later, however, they discover words written in blood. Eva then arrives and confirms she didn't find anything else inside the building, but insists she has a way to identify the clown and prove her theory. She gathers everyone inside the library and explains that whoever is writing the story must be someone familiar with the horror book they discussed during their last meeting. The only way to identify that person is by checking the library records to see who selected last week's book. While reviewing the records, Eva discovers that the people who borrow the most horror novels are the club members themselves. She also finds that nobody has checked out a clown-related story in months, leading her to conclude that the clown has to be someone within the group. As Eva explains her theory, Angela receives a voice message from Nando and steps away to listen to it. The moment she enters another room, she receives a new message from the clown, warning her that the horror books won't stay there for much longer. Frightened, Angela looks around and asks if he's watching her. The clown confirms that he is. Unsure whether to believe him, she walks cautiously through the hallway until she hears footsteps behind her. When she turns around, she sees the clown standing at the far end of the corridor. Terrified, she runs and hides behind a bookshelf, but the clown quickly tracks her down. Angela tries to escape but suddenly bumps into Nando. Relieved to see him, she hugs him tightly. As they separate, a clown mask falls out of his pocket, immediately making everyone suspect that he's the killer. When the others try to throw him out, Nando insists he simply found the mask in the library, but no one believes him. Brian orders him to leave, and Nando has no choice but to walk away. Later, Angela and Sebastian begin analyzing the clown's online profile. They discover that it's connected to Angela's old social media account, where she once posted a story about a teenage girl who went insane, poured gasoline on her mother, and set their house on fire. Angela is shocked by the discovery. Sebastian asks whether it means anything, but she dismisses the idea and asks him to leave her alone so she can think. Meanwhile, the rest of the club heads to the bar where Nando works. There, Ray gets into a fight before leaving the building and taking drugs outside. Around the same time, the third chapter is released under the title, Eliminating the Bully. The story describes how the bully is too distracted by drugs to notice the clown sneaking up behind him. Maria spots the danger and tries to warn him. Ray manages to strike the clown and even pulls off the mask, but whatever he sees leaves him completely stunned. He hesitates for a fatal moment, giving the clown the opportunity to stab him deeply in the stomach. Ray collapses, bleeding to death before he can reveal the clown's true identity. After claiming a second victim, the clown describes dragging Ray's body to the abandoned swimming pool, the same place where the group burned their clown masks. When everyone arrives there, they find no sign of Ray or the killer. Instead, they discover another message similar to the one left after Virginia's death. At the same time, Caldo begins live streaming the clown story online, attracting the attention of students across the entire campus. Because of this, the club members start believing he's the person behind the mask. Furious, Nando confronts Caldo and demands to know why he's doing all of this, but Sarah steps in and calms him down before the confrontation escalates. Once he settles down, Nando asks where Angela is, but Sarah refuses to tell him, explaining that Angela is hiding and no longer trusts him. Elsewhere, Angela and Sebastian search through the bookshelves. Angela suddenly notices the clown standing behind her. Although she initially believes it's another hallucination, panic quickly takes over. Just as Sebastian returns, the clown mysteriously vanishes once again. Sebastian then opens his computer and shows Angela that he's discovered several other social media accounts connected to the clown. They find that the mysterious user closely follows the profile of a woman named Alicia and claims to be a writer, despite not publishing anything for the past 6 years. Sebastian asks Angela if she knows Alicia, and she admits that Alicia was actually the real inspiration and central character behind the novel she published. Angela reveals that she met Alicia 6 years earlier, and that the two became close online friends. Because they trusted each other, Alicia confessed that her mother was obsessed with literature and forced her to spend countless hours reading and writing, punishing her whenever she tried to rest. After hearing Alicia's tragic story, Angela realized it would make an incredible horror novel. She stole the story and published it as her own. The book became a huge success, but Alicia discovered the betrayal before Angela ever confessed. Before disappearing from her life, Alicia promised that one day she would get her revenge. Sebastian asks if Alicia could be the clown, but Angela insists that's impossible because Alicia died in the same fire that killed her mother. Realizing that everything happening now is the result of what she did years ago, Angela suffers an emotional breakdown while Sebastian tries to comfort her. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, the clown sends Nando Angela's location along with a message saying this is his last chance to save her. Determined to rescue her, Nando immediately leaves work and races toward the location, completely unaware that he's walking straight into the clown's carefully planned trap. Nando follows the location the clown sent to his phone until he arrives at a room filled with dead bodies, along with a suspicious bag. Horrified, he immediately tries to close the bag, but then realizes the clown is watching him. He quickly runs away and hides behind a hospital stretcher before shoving it straight into the clown, knocking him unconscious. Believing he's finally defeated him, Nando slowly approaches and reaches for the clown's mask. But at the last second, the clown regains consciousness and smashes a hammer into Nando's head. Meanwhile, Angela is still with Sebastian and has no idea what happened to Nando until she receives Chapter 4, which describes Nando's death in detail. Terrified, she rushes to the hospital, where she finds him suffering from a serious head injury. The truth is that the clown assumed he had finished the job and left, but Nando had only been knocked unconscious. Some bystanders eventually found him and rushed him to the hospital, where he later regained consciousness. Angela hugs Nando and finally decides to tell him everything about Alicia. Before she can finish, however, the police arrive to question everyone about what happened. Nando asks her to leave, promising he'll take care of something first and explain everything afterward. As Angela heads back to Sebastian, she receives a notification about Caldo's livestream. This time, he's talking about the clown while promoting a horror book exhibition and inviting everyone to attend dressed as clowns. For some reason, the entire group decides to go. Before long, they receive another livestream link from the clown. Using the footage, they begin chasing everyone wearing clown masks, convinced they've found the killer. Unfortunately, they target innocent people every single time, disturbing visitors who are taking photos or enjoying the event. Their behavior quickly attracts security, who begin chasing them through the exhibition. Sebastian is captured, while Sarah manages to escape and hide in the garden. Afraid of being caught, she keeps running until she spots the clown below the staircase. The clown rushes up the stairs to kill her, but Sarah attacks him first, sending him tumbling down the steps before making another desperate escape. The entire chase is being broadcast live, allowing Angela to realize her friend is in serious danger. She immediately races to save her. Despite taking a heavy fall, the crazed clown continues chasing Sarah. She finally reaches the exit, where Angela is waiting for her, but the door is locked, leaving her trapped. Moments later, the clown catches up and strikes Sarah in the head with a hammer, sending her backward through a window. Watching everything happen leaves Angela completely traumatized. Panicked, Angela runs until she reaches a crowded area. Suddenly, someone wearing a blood-soaked clown mask stumbles into the crowd and collapses. Sebastian removes the mask, revealing Caldo, whose throat has been slashed. Unable to speak, Caldo slowly chokes before dying in front of everyone. Nando then notices Eva holding the hammer. Before he can react, Angela collapses after her blood pressure suddenly drops. When she wakes up, she's inside an ambulance. Nando insists they must report Eva to the police immediately, but Angela realizes doing so would also destroy Sebastian's life. Determined to settle everything herself, she takes the hammer Eva dropped and heads to the room where the book club always met. When Angela arrives, she's horrified to find Eva lying on the floor, bleeding heavily. She desperately tries to comfort her, but Eva dies right before her eyes. Angela begins searching the room and eventually discovers Sebastian tied to a chair. Unsure whether he's still alive, she approaches him. He wakes up and desperately begs her to untie him. Just then, Nando arrives, but Sebastian immediately accuses him of being the clown. Since Angela is holding the hammer, she turns on Nando and attacks him. Nando desperately pleads his innocence and eventually convinces Angela to stop. The moment Sebastian realizes she's no longer attacking Nando, he frees himself from the ropes, grabs the hammer from Angela, and drives it into Nando's stomach. At last, he reveals the truth. He has been the clown all along. Feeling victorious, Sebastian pins Angela against the wall and confesses everything. He admits that he was the one who sent the email to Professor Cruzado, the one who struck him in the face, causing him to lose his balance and fall onto the spear of the Don Quixote statue, ultimately killing him. Sebastian also reveals that he'd always dreamed of becoming a writer. That's why he used the same website Angela frequently visited, where he met Alicia. After discovering what Angela had done to her, the two joined forces and carefully planned every detail of their revenge together. But Angela refuses to become another victim. She quickly pulls a pen from her pocket and stabs Sebastian in the chin before escaping. After finally exposing the real killer, she first checks on Nando, then runs through the hallways searching for help. When she reaches the place where Sebastian fell, another clown suddenly removes their mask in front of her. To Angela's shock, it's Virginia, the girl who supposedly died in Chapter 2. Completely confused, Angela asks how she's still alive. The woman explains that Virginia was nothing more than a fake identity they created before revealing her true name, Alicia. Still unable to believe it, Angela insists that her best friend died in the fire years ago. Alicia denies it and explains that she survived by hiding while secretly writing the story that would eventually destroy Angela's life. She then reveals the entire truth, blaming Angela for the deaths of every member of the book club. As Alicia continues talking, Nando suddenly appears behind them and strikes Sebastian in the head, sending him over the balcony. Sebastian falls directly onto the spear of the Don Quixote statue, dying the exact same way Professor Cruzado did. Enraged by the loss of her partner, Alicia smashes Nando in the head with a hammer before turning her attention to Angela. Angela flees through the corridors until she reaches the building's engine room. There, she notices exposed electrical wires and a leaking gasoline pipe. Realizing she can use them to her advantage, she opens the gasoline valve completely and hides in a safe spot. Unaware of Angela's trap, Alicia continues searching until she steps onto the spilled gasoline. At that exact moment, Angela drops a steel panel onto the exposed electrical wire, creating a shower of sparks that ignites the fuel. Flames instantly engulf the room, setting Alicia on fire. Angela watches as Alicia burns alive, suffering the same fate she once forced upon her own mother 6 years earlier. With Alicia's death, the mystery behind the clown is finally solved. Angela and Nando both survive and decide to spend the rest of their lives together. 1 year later, Angela has returned to college alongside the man she loves. During her free time, she writes a book inspired by everything that happened. One day, while heading to the cafeteria during a break, she spots someone dressed as a clown. At first, she assumes it's just another hallucination. But when she tries to ignore it and move on, the clown removes the mask, revealing Alicia. Alicia charges toward her in a fit of rage, while Angela can do nothing but scream. And that's how the movie ends. Thanks for watching. Don't forget that your opinion matters to us, so be sure to leave a comment and subscribe to the channel.